Hi, I'm going to demonstrate how to use a Learning Lab app to create a curriculum. I'll create a curriculum for acroyoga as an example, so you can see an actual curriculum being created. For background, creating a curriculum often feels like this huge complicated process that'll take multiple days, and there are various steps along the way that can become really labor intensive. Also, what I've learned if I use a Word document, once I go down the path a certain way, pretty deep, and I realize I should have started a different way, it takes a lot of reworking in a Word document to change a curriculum. With the Learning Lab course creator tool, you have a process that's step by step, so you can focus on one aspect of curriculum creation at a time. You can also easily go back and forth. And because it has a structure of the curriculum inside, unlike a Word document that only has text, it helps you kind of massage and reconfigure your curriculum. So let's get into it. I've created here a new course just for our demo. The little gear at the bottom gets you into the course creation flow. And you can see at the top of it, you have various tabs. You have like a little intro on what the process is about. The first step is the course profile, and then asks you some good questions to keep in mind about the course, like who is it for? Like thinking about your target audience is important. Also, all of this information that you fill in helps any AI features you use later during the creation because it guides them more intelligently. Say like I was teaching acroyoga for professionals in New York City. That already gives you a lot of information about the course, like professionals, they have money, little time. They're also like they're New Yorkers. They're like really ready to like go for something and pretty ambitious. So after you fill this in, you can click the save button, and here's where Release and Meet starts. This inventory step is your brainstorming. You can just dump out everything that's on your mind, and you can organize it a little bit. You can create categories. So in acroyoga, you have a lot of poses. So you can create a poses category. And then under the poses category, I can just brainstorm in different things. One of the quintessential poses in acroyoga is bird. Usually the next thing people learn is called throne. Candles. Candlestick is pretty easy. And this is really like a fun process. You can just dump out everything that's on your mind without having to censor yourself a lot or plan. Another big thing in acroyoga are washing machines. So beginner washing machine is Ninja, Star, another one is, so this is kind of more intermediate 4-step. And 4-step reminds me that there are also some other poses. This is an example how you kind of go back and forth. You have star, and of course, if there's star, there's reverse star. And I'm trying to give you a realistic view, not just highlight the features inside, but introduce you to the thinking behind creating a curriculum. We also have concepts. An acroyoga concept is called bone stacking. Another concept is tight is light. The idea here is that you really want to get all the rudimentary, most essential building blocks of what you want to teach. And you can organize things a little bit better here. There's this feature to create tags. So let's say we create a beginner tag. And beginner should be green. And let's create a moderate tag. Let's make this blue. And let's create one for heart. Red seems quite good. Let's also have some other tags like fun. I'm gonna make fun orange. Let's make it yellow. And then I can go through and assign these tags. So bird is a beginner pose. Throne is a beginner pose. Candlestick is great for beginners. And let's just have something different. Let's say reverse is a little harder, so let's call it moderate. Let's add something that's very fun. Let's say couch is our fun thing. Well, let's say hammock is our fun thing. So I'm going to add hammock in. And hammock is both good for beginners and it's fun. You can kind of compare this, like this is pretty similar to creating a little list in a Word document. We can already see that we have some kind of tagging, so we can highlight things a little bit better. And let's say we're at this point, we fold things more in, and we're going to the next step. The next step is to create some dependencies between items. For example, our ninja star requires knowing straddle bat, side star, and reverse bird. Now, I realize I haven't ended those yet, and that's a perfect example of how you're gonna go back and forth between the steps. So I'm going back in here. I'm going to add straddle, bat, I'm going to add reverse, star, reverse, bird. I'm going to add side star. Nice. Now I'm going back to the prerequisite screen. I'm going to select Ninja Star. I'm going to say before Ninja Star, you should learn straddle bat, side star. Oops, I put it underneath. Side star and reverse bird. And now what I did before you learn reverse bird, you should probably learn bird. So I can add that in. There we go. Now I can also continue, like before you learn bird, you should probably learn the concept of bone stacking. And I want to make a distinction. It's not strictly required, it's just like a good idea. So if I click the check mark, I can switch the dependency to recommended. So check marks are required, The gold star is just a gold star. It's like a, a nice thing to have. And you can kind of see how we created a dependency tree. Now, I want to do the same thing for 4-step. And for 4-step, we need to know star. We also need to know backfly, so let me go back here. And I enter back, fly, and then I head back here. Notice, if I first go to the screen, it just shows me all the dependencies. So I can go back to select 4-step. And I'm going to add backfly. Now, usually before you learn star, it's kind of good to learn shoulder stand. So I'm gonna go back here. I'm going to add shoulder stand. And you notice how I'm going back and forth quite a bit. It takes some time to create a good curriculum, and I want you to get an actual taste of the work, not just a quick view of the screens. So I select 4-step. Our star, we want that a prerequisite to learn shoulder stand first. Before shoulder stand, we want to introduce candlestick. Because it's not strictly required, let's just make it optional. Nice. And let's go back to view all. And you can see we already created quite a few dependencies. Let's move on to the next step. You can think of this scoping page or shopping cart. Let me head back for a moment here. I want to add our course duration. Let's say we're doing 6-week course that meets weekly for 90 minutes. It's just a little math in our heads, that's like 540 minutes. Let's go back to scoping. And let's enter our default course duration. We're gonna have 6 sessions. Each session is 90 minutes. That's 540 minutes. Let's save it. And I'm thinking we want to center our course around getting students to being able to do a 4-step. So I select 4-step, and because I've created prerequisites, it automatically selected my prerequisites. And at this point I see the current course already takes 1 hour and 15 minutes. This is completely unrealistic to learn 4-step so quickly. I know this is because I didn't flesh out the course more, but this is kind of a thing where you can start playing with, what could be my course goals, what's in, what's out. We also want to learn bird, so as we select this, time goes up, we want to have thrown. It helps us get an idea of what we can actually cover in our course. And notice, instructional percentage, it's a 75%. The idea is you usually can't use 100% of the time for teaching. You have to have a welcome circle, you have to have a discussion group, you have to give people practice time. And so you can set what percentage you actually want to use for instruction. Let's go on to the next step. The skill rubric is like a real mind shift. And I'm going to go with the skill rubric in a separate video. Let me just summarize at the moment. When you learn something, there are certain knowledge items you need and certain skill. For example, if you're a soccer player, knowledge is you need to know how to kick the ball. But there's also a skill part. You have to kick the ball a certain number of times until you get good at kicking. You have to run around a bunch of times until you're good at running. So skill is how we build up the skill, where it's not just a click aha moment. Let's go to the next step. Learning outcomes. What we've done so far is planning bottom up. We just brain dumped everything out and we just collected the raw ingredients that we want to put into the course. With learning outcomes, we're starting top down. What do we want students to walk away with? And what do they need in order to get there? And as we start from the top down, some of our bottom up will change, and in course planning we often have to go back and forth between top down to make sure you get certain goals, and then bottom up to make sure you get all the material in. So one of my favorite objectives for acroyoga is that the students are able to go on their own in a park and just do acroyoga with a friend. Something simple, something that they can do relatively safely. So let's call it be able to do acro in the park independently. Now when we have course objectives, we can add our teachable items, and I think hammock would be really great. It's really easy, it's really safe to... You can't say something's absolutely safe, but it's pretty safe to teach to friends. Also I realized we need spotting, and that's an example I have to go back and forth. So actually for spotting I want to create a whole new section. And I would create different items here, but just for time, let's go back. So then I would come back here and I would add my spotting item here. Let's just say we're gonna add a bird here. I know there's something that's a little bit, something you have to pay attention to. In the app, what we've created so far are called teachable items. They're just kind of the pure concepts. And what we have to create next are the actual lessons. And there's a difference between the two, because you can teach a concept in many different ways. You can introduce bird in many different ways. You could have many different exercises. So what we have right now is bird as a teachable item, and create lesson is creating the actual lesson. So this is what a student is going to see. And just to keep it simple, we can name it the same. We're going to have a synopsis that's going to show up in the course that the student sees. Let's call it the most quintessential pose to learn. And then for instructions, you might have step 1, base lies on their back. 2, and we can have an FAQ, we can add notes and anything. We can also add a cover image for it. We can have graduation requirements, and all of these things I can go over separately on how to create a good lesson. And then when we're done, I hit save. And see, now we have a bird teachable item associated with a bird lesson. And let's say we go through this. So this will take some time, If you want your students to read quality information, you have to write it up, and usually takes more time to write something than read it. The next step is our session plan. So this is like a nifty little tool where you can plan out what your session is actually going to look. So I'm going to add a session block. I'm going to call this one Day 1. And we're going to start with an opening circle. And I'm going to override the duration. I think 10 minutes is enough for this. And then we're going to have a warm-up, and I'm going to switch back, and this is an example of how we go back and forth. I want to have another category here for warm-ups. And let's say we have this plank, foot, let go exercise. I'm going to switch here. For simplicity, let me just add it here. Actually, let's just skip straight here. So my first lesson is, I'm going to add a lesson segment. And the first one is going to be the plank let go exercise. So I'm going to add that here. Plank let go. I'm going to create a lesson. Plank let go. And teaches good body tension is my synopsis. And instruction are assume, plank, pose, and so on. Going to create it. It's associate here. Go back here. Now I can select it. Plank let go. After students are warmed up, I'm going to add another lesson. Let's do the bird lesson. You can like see you have like a time outline of what your lesson is going to be like. It's nicely organized. Very much likely you're going to have more content since there's time, and this will require you to go back to previous steps to figure out what you can take out. And the final step is this is creating the curriculum that the student sees. And you can see right now, under flex lessons, you have the bird and the plank let go lesson. Flex lessons just means this is kind of the catch-all, like optional lessons. We're going to create a level. I'm going to call it Introduction to Acroyoga. And I'm going to move both of them under it. Now you see flex lessons is empty. And we have the lessons. And now I'm going to show you what it looks like to the student. The students see all the levels here. They can open up the level, then they see all the lessons. So they see synopsis, and they can open up a lesson, and here you have the description. You can mark lessons as completed. You can add comments and all these other things. We're at 25 minutes. I hope you kind of saw how you can use this tool to create a curriculum and how to keep things organized.